Highly successful individuals are always focused on what's next, but they often don't take time to reflect on their journey and how far they've come. I'm Craig Heatherly, host of the Path Less Traveled podcast, where we dive into the journeys of extraordinary leaders. Their success rarely follows a straight path, and that's what makes their story so remarkable. Now let's dive into this week's episode after a brief message from our sponsors. Looking for top talent in tech or professional fields? Avero Talent connects businesses with exceptional candidates, specializing in tailored recruiting solutions that match the right skills to your team's needs. Whether building a team or searching for a tough-to-fill position, Avero Talent delivers the expertise you need to hire smarter, faster, and with more confidence. Let us help you find your next star employee.
Success changes the game. Your business is growing. New opportunities, ambitious goals, greater impact. But growth brings complexity. More people to lead, more moving parts, less time and space to think and connect. And when leaders feel that strain, teams do too. At Cressy Leadership, we help leaders navigate those challenges. Through individual coaching, group training, and our Leadership Academy, we build the skills and strengthen the connections that make growth sustainable, helping teams communicate openly, tackle challenges together, and stay aligned on what matters most. Cressy Leadership. Envision what's possible.
Welcome to Season 3. Kicking off Season 3 of the Path Less Traveled podcast. Holy cow. I can't believe it's been 3 seasons already. We've got a special guest. We've got Joe Hart, the president of the South Bend Cubs, joining the show. Joe, thanks for doing this.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you. Anytime the chance to talk about a little baseball, happy to do it.
Well, we don't have to talk about who the South Bend Cubs are, what you guys do here, but I do want to start this interview off with, we are outside on the back deck of the Performance Center.
Yeah.
Hearing hammers, hearing cranes. When you came here in 2012 to where it's at today, I want you to take a minute here, or a moment. Like, what feelings, what emotions come up as you look out here of what's happening to where we're at today?
I think the biggest thing is maybe a little bit of, obviously excitement, but maybe some disbelief. I remember when I interviewed with Andrew Berlin, I interviewed with him at his house, in Glencoe, Illinois. So I had not been to South Bend ever in my life. And I remember my first time getting here, he's like, hey, here are the keys. Go check out the ballpark. And I remember walking in thinking, oof, maybe I should have checked out the stadium and all that first before I agreed to take the position. But I'm a lifelong baseball guy. I've been in the industry now for 31 years. So, and I'm glad you asked me to reflect, take a minute to reflect, because in what I do, it's so busy year after year, you don't get that opportunity to truly reflect. And to look around, as you said, you hear the hammers, you see stuff going on, and just a sense of enjoyment, pride, and excitement for the community. Because when Andrew bought the ball club, the team was, on the verge of bankruptcy. It was potentially going to be sold to another owner that was going to relocate it outside of South Bend. And now here we are. We got a franchise that draws over 300,000 people a year. We're in the middle of a $48 million renovation, and it's truly become the jewel of Michiana. And it's not just a South Bend, a Mishawaka, or a Granger entity. It is really the region now. We get people from Chicago to come over. Obviously, a lot of this changed when we became a Cubs affiliate in 2015. But to just look around, the place doesn't look anything like it did the first day I walked into this place.
A big thank you to Senior One Care for sponsoring today's episode. Founded in 2006 by Carl and Kyle Bossing, this family-owned business has provided compassionate in-home care for nearly 2 decades. If my family needed a caregiver, I'd call Kyle. With 6 Indiana locations, they give you the peace of mind while your loved ones receive the care they deserve. Learn more at senior1care.com. So when you see it and you think about all the work that was put in up to this point, and then you see this, what excites you the most about what's next?
I think the biggest thing is letting the community see what's next. They were able to see a lot of it during the summer, but everything we do, everything in our business is about customer service. Yes, I'm a diehard baseball guy. It's all I've ever done. But for me, it's not about the game itself. It's about what we can bring to the community. That's affordable, family, fun entertainment. The greatest, I guess, compliment I get at the end of the season was when somebody walks up to me and says, Joe, you know what? I don't like baseball at all, but I came out 5 times this year and enjoyed it. My family enjoyed it. And that's probably the biggest thing for me is it's not about wins or losses. Don't get me wrong. I love when we win. You know, I love my championship ring from 2019 and 2022. But really the real joy is when you see people leave at the end of the night, the kids high five and you're having a smile on their face and mom and dad was able to do something fun for the family.
You said earlier on, like you wish you would have checked this place out before you signed up, and then you talk about the community, your family.
Yeah.
Take me back to 2012. Take me back to what you experienced when your family moved here and what it's been like being a part of this community.
Well, the funny thing is, you know, at the time I was living in Port Charlotte, Florida. I was running the team called the Charlotte Stone Crabs. We were the Tampa Bay Rays single A affiliate. And the unique thing there was my team owner was Cal Ripken Jr. So Cal was my hero growing up as a kid. Actually, you know, my son's name is Calvin. We named him after Cal Ripken. And then I get the opportunity to work for my idol was exciting. But then to have the opportunity to move to South Bend, to take a franchise that back in the day when it first started in 88, in the early years was extremely successful. It was one of the jewels of minor league baseball that had just fallen on hard times. So to have the opportunity to come up here and work on it, turn it around and bring it to what it is today is exciting for me. And it's very humbling because the community accepted me and my family from day one without any issue. Like you meet people and they're like, hey, I know you're new to the community. Here's somebody you need to talk to. He runs this company. They might be interested. Or this person here, you're looking for a house. This guy will be able to show you around. I mean, it was with open arms. And the funniest thing is when it was announced I was getting the job here in South Bend, there was a story in the South Bend Tribune, and I'm reading it online. My wife and I are still down in Florida. And I'll never forget, there's this one comment some guy wrote. Great. How good a shape is this franchise going to be in? You have an idiot that currently lives in nice, sunny Florida that's going to move to South Bend, Indiana in January. He must not be very smart. And I remember that to this day. And now to be able to look back, I wish I knew who that person was because I'd like to say, hey, what do you think now? It's, you know, that's the funny thing is, you know, in our business, you hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I just take those as motivation. And whoever it was that sent that day, you probably lit a fire under me. And, you know, here we are now 14 years later, and the place looks entirely different.
It does. And, you know, I tell people often, you know, words matter. You can use them to ignite somebody in a positive or not positive way. And clearly, we've got an example of that. But you've got this kind of chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned, you know, that newspaper clipping or that comment, how it's fueled you. I mean, what is it about you that, you know, wants to jump into something and make it so much better than how you found it? Yeah,
and I think the biggest thing is probably, you know, I grew up in north central Pennsylvania, a small town called Emporium, about 1,900 people. Both my parents were blue-collar workers, worked in a factory. And in those small communities, you saw how everybody took care of each other, wanted everybody to do better and the community to do better. So, you know, anywhere I've ever been, especially working in baseball, you can have a huge impact in your community if you do things the right way. People ask me all the time, do you have any desire to work at the major league level? No, I don't. I truly don't, because I feel like what we're able to do here in South Bend can provide a massive benefit. We tell people all the time, when you walk in the walls of Four Winds Field, you can take the daily grind of life and leave it outside, and you have 3 hours of just fun and enjoyment. And, you know, for me, it's always been, you know, people have always helped me out no matter where I've lived. And, you know, it's part of that give back. Like if there's anything I can do to make somebody else's life a little bit better, or maybe they've had a rough day and they come out here and, you know, have a great evening and it changes their day around, then, hey, that's a win for me, despite whether we won on the field that night or not.
I can't gloss over the fact that you mentioned you worked for your idol, Cal Ripken.
Yeah.
What was that like, and what did you learn from that experience?
One is it's hard to take a day of vacation because the Iron Man never missed work. But it was awesome in the sense that, you know, you got to see how just conversations of how he went about his day, how he approached his day. Now, granted, his was on the field, mine's in the front office on the business side, but they're still the same things. He talked about how you had to prepare each day, the things you needed to look out for. You had to plan and think about what's going on in the future as well. So I think he just instilled a lot of those daily attributes that gave you the tools to be successful. And then from a baseball standpoint, just sitting in a room with him talking baseball was the greatest thing ever. I mean, the guy, he was so smart on how he played the game. But again, that just didn't happen. It's because of the studying, the homework, and the research he did. And, that was one of the things that, I was able to learn from. And then obviously I get here, our owner, Andrew Berlin, very successful business owner. He taught me a lot on the business side of things, whereas Cal was more kind of baseball and planning. Andrew was more about, hey, here's how you conduct yourself in a meeting. It's all about customer service, because at the end of the day, that's what our product is. It's the players on the field. They're provided to us by the Chicago Cubs. I don't have any say who starts, who doesn't. It's, how are you welcomed when you came into the ballpark? How are the fireworks? Was your food and beverage good? Those are the experiences I can control. And a lot of that, Andrew taught me from, day one, or, obviously those were things I knew, but just enhanced it. Yeah. And then the one thing he always told me from day one, either we do it right or we don't do it at all. There is no half-assing anything in our world. So, and a lot of teams make that mistake each year. They come up with 20 ideas that they're going to try to do each year to improve on their experience. And you can do 20 things okay, or let's just do 4 things and be excellent at them. And that's probably the number one thing that I took away from Andrew from day one. Just be great at a few things. Next year, you can add a couple more. Don't try to, do too many things at once. Like he always told me from day one, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
I love the advice. I really do, because in a world of a lot of complexity and distractions, and the new shiny thing, it's so easy to chase the newest idea, the newest thing, and then you lose sight of what matters. And to the core of, especially of what you guys do, you mentioned it there. It's customer service, right? It's creating an experience where somebody wants to come back 3 hours away from home or work or whatever, come and enjoy yourself. So, well, the title of the podcast is The Path Less Traveled. When you think about that title and you think about your journey, tell me what comes up, what thoughts come to mind?
Well, one, it's been a very long journey. For me, growing up in a small town in north central Pennsylvania, when you only have 1,900 people there, one traffic light, no fast food restaurants. And then I went to West Virginia University, got my degree in sport management. The university at the time I was there, enrollment was 25,000 students. I was the kid that would sit in the back of the classroom, top row, slouched down, because I was petrified of public speaking. Could not do it for the life of me. But going to college at a big school helped me get out of my comfort zone. And that's the one thing I will tell people all the time when I'm giving interviews to people, or, they're asking me questions, how do you get in the industry? Get out of your comfort zone, because that's the number one thing. It forces you to do things you don't normally do. So that was number one. My first job in minor league baseball, I went to Buffalo, New York. I did an internship. After that, my next one was Harlingen, Texas. I had no idea where Harlingen, Texas was, but it was with an independent league team. It was, 4 hours south of Corpus Christi. You're right down there on the border between the United States and Mexico. So everything I did pushed me out of my comfort zone. Everywhere I moved to a new city where I didn't know anybody. So it forced you to meet people. And I think, the other thing is, too, in my early career, I worked for some organizations that probably weren't the best. I learned more how not to do things than to do things. And again, I lead by example. I'll never ask somebody to do something I won't do on my own. And I'm out there working with them, on a day. If it's a Saturday night and, the stadium's a mess and we got a quick turnaround for a Sunday, I'll be out there picking up trash. That's what you do. You get it done. And I think that's probably helped us be successful here, because that's the type of person I recruit as well. And again, I don't micromanage. If I have to micromanage it, I hired the wrong person. We're all adults is how I view it.
You get out of your comfort zone. You do the, no jobs beneath you. You roll up your sleeves. Where does this come from?
I think a lot of it was the background of my parents. I mean, you'd see them, they worked, at a factory in our local town, and they'd get up at 7 a.m. and work till 3. They'd come home. They were filthy and dirty, but they did it every day and didn't complain. That's what they needed to do. And, the way I viewed it is, I saw them go to work every day and I took a lot from it. Now, I did learn early on, and, my dad got me some of those jobs in the summertime where I worked at the factory. I learned that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to go on, get my college degree and try to do something different. I don't want to say better because that's an important job for, the United States. They help make parts for cars, all that stuff. It was just, I wanted something different. And I wanted to kind of leave that small town and try to experience bigger things. And, I've been able to do that. I've lived in Texas, New York, California, Tennessee, Florida, and now here in Indiana. And, I think you're kind of made from all the different situations that you've been in. And I've been in a lot of great ones. And I had good mentors early in my career, which was extremely important.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit more about, it's great to sit out here on the back deck and see what's happening. And to hear, going from nobody showing up to the stadium to 300,000 people in a year. But it doesn't come without any valleys and some tough times.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a failure, but does a valley come to mind that you went through over your time here? What was it like? And then kind of what did you learn coming out of it?
Yeah, I think probably the hardest thing was my first year in South Bend. I got here late January. We were less than 90 days from opening day. And, I inherited a staff that were good people, but they were not baseball oriented. They were not customer service minded. To me, it felt like they were punching a time clock. They were coming in just to get done and then leave. Well, in the baseball world with what we do, it's so much more than that. This is a passion of mine.
Yeah.
This is what I've done for 31 years. And in the summertime, you're going to be working 12, 13-hour days, 6 days in a row during a homestand. And unfortunately, that just wasn't the staff that I had here. So that first year was kind of rolling with the staff I had, trying to implement some changes that I could get them to buy into just to get through that first year. And then obviously we did a ton of renovations that first year as well. So, I think that first year we got it up to about 169, 170,000 people, whereas the previous year it was at 112. So for me, that was a win. And then I had truly the time to start bringing in people that I knew in the industry, baseball-minded people that were in the customer service industry or mindset. I tell people all the time, if you're not giving, willing to give of yourself and serve people, this probably isn't the right industry for you. And I think that was probably the biggest thing was that first year, just with such a short time frame. But again, you roll up the sleeves, you get out here and do it. And that first year was a success. And again, Andrew and I made a lot of promises. We had a lot of good ideas. But at the end of the day, good ideas are a dime a dozen. You have to have people that'll implement them. So I think that was the number one thing too is, hey, if you're saying you're going to do it, you better do it and you better do it right. So, and we did. And I think, there was a lot of trust in the community to come out and give us that one shot of like, hey, they're saying they're going to do all this. Are they truly going to do it? And we did. And people now see us 14 years in that if the South Bend Cubs are going to do something and say they're going to do it, they're going to do it and they're going to do it right. And I think that's what you see now with all the renovations. We built the apartments in 2018. I remember that people thought we were crazy to build apartments around the ballpark down here, but somebody's got to do it. And, now they're filled.
Hearing you speak, it reminds me of like there's 3 levels of somebody's experience within employment. Typically it's you like what you do, you love what you do, and there's a third level. It's you live what you do, and it's clear that you live what you do. I find it fascinating that you really focus on the type of individual that works for you. How do you identify that in an interviewing process to get the right people on the bus?
Yeah. A lot of it is I have the saying, is it a will or a skill issue? If you have the will to learn, I can teach you how to sell a ticket. I can teach you how to make a hot dog. But if you don't have the will to learn, it doesn't matter. If you come in thinking you know everything already, then you're not going to buy into the way we're doing things. Then you're probably not going to be a right fit. The other thing for me is how you interact as soon as you come in. Can you look me in the eye? Do you got that bubbly personality? Because again, for customer service, you got to have a smile on your face. You got to be willing to help. And again, for us, there are a lot of people that work on my staff now that were coming right out of college that we said, hey, if you have the will to learn, we'll teach you. And a lot of them have been with me now 5-6 years that are just extremely successful. And that's fun to see as well, that you can grow somebody to be where they're valuable. And again, I hate to lose employees, and I've lost several over the last couple of years here that have been phenomenal. But I also take great pride in that because maybe I helped them grow a little bit, instilled them with that willingness to learn and to work hard that lets them be successful and move on to another team and, be a president of a baseball team or be a general manager, or even if it's outside of baseball, just be successful in life. And that's truly what I enjoy. But it's tough. You got to find the right people. And again, a lot of it for me is just what's your attitude when you first come in? Can you look me in the eye? Can you shake my hand? Or do you got that bubbly personality? Because in this business, you hear a lot of the negative and, the fans will come up and, it's all how you interact. And, I work extremely hard to do what I do that can be ruined by one person. Our statistics show that you as a fan, when you come out, you're going to have 7 different interactions with an employee.
Wow.
Well, not all 7 are going to be with me. It's how are you greeted at the parking lot? How did the ticket taker? Was the stadium clean? So those are all the type of things that we focus on. We have a list of what we call 30 touch points. And they're broken down into pregame, during the game, and after the game. And we put this list together my very first year here. And if you can hit every one of those and be exceptional, then your guest experience is going to be exceptional. And then they become an extension of your staff because now they're out telling everybody that they know, man, what a great experience when I went to a South Bend Cubs game. I can stand up in front of a classroom or, a Rotary Club and tell you that, and everybody's going to say, well, of course he says that. He works there.
Yeah.
But if you get up there and say, man, I went to a game and everything Joe just said was spot on. The customer service is awesome. That goes a long way. So it gives us the ability to kind of even expand upon our staff by we call them promoters. When our fans are out here, if they're loving us and telling people, we consider them promoters.
Will or skill?
Yeah.
I like that. And I often tell people, to me, it comes down to one question. How bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, how bad do you want it?
Absolutely.
You mentioned earlier, the word mentor.
Yeah.
As you think about those that have helped you along your journey, and I'm sure there's been many.
Yeah.
Who comes to mind and what was the lesson or the thing that really helped you take the next jump in your leadership journey? Yeah.
The first one was my first job ever in baseball. His name is John Wiedemann. He was community relations director for the Buffalo Bisons, and I worked on his department, which what I got to do at the time was I'd go around, me and another intern, we'd go to all the inner city parks in downtown Buffalo and just teach baseball. I mean, who doesn't love that as a 21-year-old? But I had no game day responsibilities. But he asked me and said, hey, you're done with your stuff at 4 o'clock. Do you want to come help out on game days? I'll get you with other departments so you can learn other aspects of it. And I'll just kind of help show you around so you can get as much out of this internship as possible. What the industry back in the early days, 20 years or so ago, was very much, you were an intern, you did the grunt work. You cleaned the toilets, you did the job that nobody else wanted to do. He could have very easily done that to me, but he didn't. He took me down the path of, let me teach you other things. So when you leave here, you can say the experience was far more than what you expected. And that's what I try to do here with all of our interns here. Let them experience different departments. What do you want to know? My door's always open. Let me try to help you. And another one was Mark O'Brien when I worked in Texas. He was a phenomenal advocate as well. Same deal. I ran the box office there, and he oversaw operations. He goes, do you want to come help me with food and beverage experience? So you can get some of that experience on it. And it was just, they went out of their way to take me under their wing when they didn't have to. And, I started doing 2 internships in this industry, and I'm a huge advocate of it. If a kid comes here and at the end of it goes, ugh, that was a waste of my time, then I failed that person. And not only that, they're going to tell everybody they know that don't do an internship in South Bend because they're going to have you scrubbing toilets or doing this or that, and it's not worth the experience. So I'm a firm believer in internships, but you got to treat people right. And for me, we usually hire about 10 of them. We couldn't do what we do without them. So they need to be treated with respect and the dignity of the job that they do. Yeah, they make mistakes, they're young. And that's the other thing of my mindset is, I want my people to be able to push the envelope a little bit, try new things. If you make a mistake, as long as you learn from it. My issue is when you make the same mistake twice. Try something new. If it doesn't work, hey, scratch it off, or let's sit down and evaluate. Could you have done this thing a little bit different? and that would have made it work, or it was just a bad idea and we couldn't pull it off type of thing. So, that's just kind of my mindset. One of the organization I worked with a long time ago, I had a manager he literally was a micromanager, and I was a sales guy at the time. And I remember one time I picked up the phone, called my wife, talked to her for maybe 10 minutes just during the day. As soon as I hung up the phone, he was standing in my cube. He goes, that was a 10-minute personal call. You could have made probably 3 sales calls. And I'll never forget that. And it was like, if I'm ever in a leadership position, I don't want to be that guy. Yes, as long as you're getting your work done, that's fine. You have the opportunity to make some of those calls, personal stuff. You got to, everybody's got a life to live as well. But I'll never, that really sat with me for years. And early part of my career, I was like, just don't be that guy.
Let me check and see how we're doing on time. This is great. We're about 25 minutes in.
Perfect.
I think that's still good here. This is still rolling. All right. Well, I'm going to shift towards. You just talked about advice, so I'll go to kind of advice for a younger Joe. Gosh, you've shared some of the nuggets that others have shared with you as far as the advice and the wisdom and what to do, what not to do. If you were looking at a younger you, what advice would you wish you would have received or avoided?
Probably the biggest thing is get involved early. When I went to college, it's a funny story what I went to college for and where I am today are two kind of separate paths. Again, being that shy kid from Pennsylvania, I didn't like to speak out. I just tried to do my own things. My original plan was I wanted to go to school to be a PE teacher and maybe an athletic director at a high school. So it was after my sophomore year, I met with my advisor, and Dr. Alsop was his name. And again, he was a huge mentor for me from the educational side of things. He goes, what do you think of your first 2 years? I said, I don't really feel like I'm in the right classes. He goes, you're in sport management. What did you think you wanted to do? I said, be a PE teacher. He goes, well, that was in the School of Physical Education. You're not in that one. And Muddy sat me down and said, well, talk me through. What do you like about this? And what are your passions? And it was, obviously baseball. I played 3 sports, but baseball by far was my love. And he just said to me, he's like, well, you're on the right path. We have a sport management program. Join the sport management program. What the sport management program did at West Virginia is we ran the concessions for the baseball games. So it got me into the baseball side of the business side of it, so to speak, not the player side of it. And I fell in love with it at that point. And then, there were sport management conferences. He goes, you should go to this. You should go do that. What about your internship? Have you contacted anybody yet? Well, no, I wasn't really doing it yet. I figured I'd wait till after I graduate. He goes, that's a waste of a year. Do it between your junior and senior year. For one, you're going to get into the industry and see if you truly like it or not. Yeah. And those were the things that were like, I wish I would have done all those stuff my freshman year, went straight in, got in sport management club, be involved, and met with my advisor earlier. Mm-hmm. It all worked out, luckily. But again, it was just probably a little bit of happenstance. I also believe everything happened for a reason. I tried walking on at West Virginia University to play baseball, hurt my shoulder, had 2 arm surgeries. The playing days were done and over with. But here I am, 30 years later, still in the sport I love. Even if I would have played there, what different path would I be on today? Again, everything happens for a reason. I'm in, right place, right time.
I love this next question that I get to ask individuals like yourself that are leading organizations and pulled in so many different directions. Kind of put us into your mind. Like what consumes your thoughts? Because if we show up on game day, it's like, oh, what a really fun thing that they get to do. Yeah. They don't see the behind the scenes work, but then also all the things that you are juggling mentally. Just let us tap into your mind. Like what consumes your thoughts?
First thing on a game day you get in, one, always look at the weather. That's probably the biggest thing I hate being in baseball is you can work hard for 6 months to plan the biggest event, but Mother Nature is ultimately in charge. So come in, look at the weather, kind of meet with my directors of each department. What are your concerns for tonight? How are we staffing wise? As the day goes on, I still like to sell corporate partnerships and group outings myself. So I'm following up with my clients to make sure they're good for that night's game. And then it really comes down to about an hour before gates. Probably our number one challenge each and every night is the F&B department. You're trying to service a lot of people in a short period of time. You're only as good as the employees that you have working with you. So it's really, that's the main thing. And then once the gates open, greeting people, walking around, shaking hands, saying hello. What probably the biggest misconception is, there'll be a lot of times people will be like, hey, last night at the game, did you see what so-and-so did? He was 4 for 4. If I'm lucky, I might watch a half an inning of baseball. And that's throughout the course of the evening. That's not just in one setting. Because you're going around. It is truly my job. And the biggest thing of this for me is when we fail as an organization and don't meet a fan's expectations, I'm just extremely disappointed. I'm down. I'm hard on myself. And there are a lot of fans out there that will probably tell you that if they had a bad experience and reached out, I reach out to them each and every time. I don't ever like to hear when you've done something wrong, but I need to hear it because then you can course correct. Again, maybe it was something that was unintentional, something that, again, when you're here every day, 12 hours a day, it's hard to sometimes experience it from a fan standpoint, and that's what I need to do. So there will be times I'll get in my car, half hour before gates open, drive around, see what the parking lots look like, what's traffic looking like, what's the experience coming in, because I forget sometimes I'm here every day. I don't normally deal with it, but it's what the fans experience, and I need their feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, because that's how we make improvements. And I tell people all the time. I remember a couple years ago, it was opening day. We had a huge fail, and I don't remember what it was, but I asked our box office for the list, because when you scan your tickets in, it tells us who came. I have their email address. I sent an email to every single person that attended that night's game and apologized. Said, hey, we did not meet our expectations. I apologize. Please let me know what your experience was if we could have done something different. Luckily for me, 95% of the people said, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see it. We had a great time. And again, I think a lot of times when you see one person have a bad time, you think it's everybody. And luckily, it's probably not. But, hey, I'll fall on the sword. I'll wear it. If we made the mistake, I'll wear it. Because again, you're paying your hard-earned dollars to come out here. You have a certain expectation of getting the value of what you pay. And we need to deliver that to you. If we don't, we fail. And that's the thing that frustrates me. A night like that is harder for me, and I probably dwell on it more than a night that's a success with no issues.
When you're speaking, I'm reminded of the book Extreme Ownership, if you've ever read it. But you just said, I'll fall on the sword. I'll own it. I'll fess up to it. I'll meet it where it's at, and I'll hear it, whether or not I want to hear it.
Yep.
But I need to hear it.
Yep.
Gosh, we're that mindset. Not a lot of leaders are willing to take on that approach.
Yep.
Why?
I think that's how you grow as a person, but most importantly, grow your business. Because if you're willing to hear what's wrong, you're willing to fix it. And then the other thing, too, is every year in the month of August, we do a thing called Net Promoter Score Survey.
Net Promoter Score Survey.
Yeah, NPS. Okay. A lot of the big companies, Trader Joe's, Southwest Airlines. This was introduced to me through Andrew, our owner. They did one at Berlin Packaging, and it was literally like a 10-question survey. The number one main question is, how likely are you to promote the South Bend Cubs to a friend, family member, or coworker? And you score it 0 to 10. If you score us a 0 through a 6, we consider you a hater. That means I failed you. So if you're out in the community talking to people, you're telling them, don't go to the South Bend Cubs. I had a horrible experience. If you're a 9 or 10, we consider you a promoter or a lover. You're out telling everybody what your experience was, and a great experience it was. If you're a 7 or an 8, you're a fence sitter. We didn't do bad to hurt you or your experience, but we didn't do a good enough job for you to ultimately go out and tell people about it. And the highest you can be is a plus 100. The worst you can be is minus 100. And you kind of rank yourself based on the industry you're in, like the cable industry. You might be a 5. Well, we all know the cable industry is not a fun industry to deal with. So maybe in the cable industry, -2 is what the average is. But if you're a 5, then you're doing exponentially better. Well, what we do is we throw out the 7s or 8s. We call them the fencer. We throw them out and we net out the 9s and 10s versus the 0 through 6s, and that'll give you a score. We did that in March of 2012 before we ran a single game under our ownership because we wanted to see what the community thought of us.
Yeah.
We scored a 13. A 13 as a sports and entertainment venue is terrible. We had almost as many detractors as we did lovers and promoters, which was not good. And there was a huge number of fence hitters. So it let us know, if we can, one, get the 0 to 6s to begin to like us, we're going to win people over. If we take the 7s or 8s, win them over, they're going to start coming back to the ballpark. And instead of maybe coming once a year, we find out now they come 3 times a year. Mm-hmm. And that's how we were able to grow our attendance, and they're telling others. So for me, the net promoter score was huge. And we live by that. We love getting them in September because we can truly see how we did as an organization. And ultimately, that's a reflection on how you do from a financial standpoint. The more happy people are, the more money they're likely to spend, which means the better strength financially your business is going to be. Our first year, so we went from a 13 before we ran a single game. That first year, I think we scored like a 62. So we had a massive jump. This past year, we're running now anywhere between 83 to 86. So we have a ton of promoters out there. So again, you got to own it. When you make the mistake, you own it. Gosh, some of those conversations are hard, I will tell you. When you stand there and look at somebody and they're irate, and they have every right to be. I know if I was the customer, that's the way I would be. So again, it goes back to treat others how you want to be treated. It's a simple concept.
Okay, so then we're gonna spend some time here then. How do you coach your team members when they're in that moment with an irate fan or even yourself? Like, how do you conflict resolution is a very, very challenging thing to deal with, and it's a skill that can be learned. How do you guys do it?
One is you try to tell them not to take it personally, because a lot of times when you're hearing it, it's not something that I did myself personally. Even though most instances I wish it was me, because then I have nobody to blame but myself. But I think a lot of it is, hey, listen to them and help them. We can course correct right then and there. Even like our seasonal staff members, like if you're walking through the concourse and you just bought a beer and it slips out of your hands and you dropped it. Well, you just paid good money, $9, $10 for a beer. You're not necessarily mad at us. You're mad at yourself. But if one of our ushers or any of our staff members see that, they'll be like, sir, hang on one second. What were you drinking? Let me go get you. They don't have to call for me. So I like to give our staff the ability to make some of those decisions on their own, because you can eliminate a lot of issues. Or if you're sitting in seats and, the seat might have a crack in it, or you're sitting next to somebody that's rowdy, sir, come with me. Let me upgrade your tickets. I'll put you right behind home plate. I empower the seasonal staff to do that, and which makes them buy into what we're trying to do. And every year we return about 70% of our seasonal employees, which is huge, because you've spent a lot of time training them, teaching them to do what we do and to provide the experience we want to provide. So when they feel part of it and know that they can do it without having to, hold on, let me track down Joe, or let me track down Nick, our general manager, you're able to get rid of a lot of that anxiety from a fan. Now, there'll be times that, they will need to call me if it's a bigger issue. More than happy to come over. But with a lot of the younger full-time staff, when it's a certain issue, I will tell it, hey, call me. I'll come over so I can help deflect. And then also they can see how I act. Maybe they can take away a few nuggets on how I handled that. If one of them gets an email from an angry customer, and they send it to me, I will respond back and I'll copy them on it just so they can see, the tone in which I take it. And a lot of times it's like, hey, we made a mistake. Please come out to a game as my guest. Let me make it up to you and show you that what happened to you was the exception, not the rule type of thing. So, it's just, honestly, I don't know where I learned that aspect of it. Again, I just think we're in a fun environment. It's baseball. At the end of the day, I just want people to leave happy. And if they didn't today, let me get you back, and the next time you will. And I have a lot of those. I had somebody that had an issue last year, and they weren't able to make it back to a game in 2024. And I said, you have my email. You reach out at any point. This offer stands for 2025. They reached out to me in the beginning of August. They came out to a game. He made a point to stop by guest services, ask for it, because it was all through email. He lived in Illinois, and we never had the chance to meet in person. And when I walked up to him, he's like, he had 2 friends with him that they brought to the game. And they're like, this is the guy I was telling you about that was responding to my emails. He did everything right. He responded, invited us back out. You're here tonight from an issue I had a year ago, but this isn't, because I was just willing to take it. And,
wow.
And again, you just treat them with respect.
This episode is brought to you by Mosier Consulting, the powerhouse behind some of the most innovative technology solutions in Northern Indiana. For 30 years, Mosier has been delivering best-in-class solutions. If you're a leader in your company, Mosier is your partner in progress. With deep expertise in analytics, AI, managed services, Microsoft, IT savings, and strategic consulting, they don't just support your tech, they elevate your entire business. Mosier Consulting, technology experts, real results. Visit mosierit.com to learn more. Well, I've got one final question, then I'll get your final thoughts on anything. You talk about your team. You've talked about this community. There's a lot of things to be proud of personally.
Yeah.
And let's take the South Bend Cubs out of this question.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of in your life?
That's a good question. One, being a father. I have two kids that are here. So part of it for me, my journey, one of the biggest mistakes I made early on, work-life balance. There wasn't. When I moved to California back in 1998, I just recently gotten married. 2 years in, we had a son. I neglected my home life. My wife and I ended up getting divorced. Unfortunately, my son now is 24, lives in Nashville. He's doing very well and successful. I ended up getting remarried. I celebrate my 20th anniversary this year. So apparently I did learn something.
Yeah.
But work-life balance is huge. So I take a lot of pride in that because I failed miserably the first time. And, I can look at my ex-wife and go, 95% of this was me. It wasn't you. And that's hard to admit. It really is hard to admit. So the second go around, when we moved here, my son Calvin was 3 and my daughter was 1.5, Caroline. Now they both go to Penn. Cal's a junior, Caroline's a sophomore. They both worked at the ballpark this past summer. So I think for me, just being a family guy, because my wife, she couldn't do what she does and keeps our family together. We couldn't do it without her. She's an amazing person, and giving her that credit as much as I possibly can is important to me. And she doesn't like to get it, but I like to mention it when I do stuff like this or speak at Rotary clubs, because again, she's the glue that holds us together. So that's probably the number one thing from a pride standpoint. But then two is coming in and taking something and rebuilding it, kind of putting my thumbprint on it, and just see that whenever I leave the South Bend Cubs, when I retire, the place is in a better shape than what I took it in. And the community can run with it another 50 years. I mean, the ballpark was built in 87. We've done a lot of improvements the first decade. And now with this $48 million, this stadium's going to be around much longer than I'm going to be, another 50, 60, 70 years, that hopefully the community can look back someday and remember in 2012 when Andrew Berlin bought this ball club? Without that transaction, this ballpark's probably not here today. We like to think that we help play some role in some of the revitalization of downtown South Bend. Between concerts, all our other events, we're probably close to bringing 400 people back to downtown. That when I got here, people were like, you don't go to downtown South Bend. And when I'd leave work at 5 o'clock, it would be like a ghost town. Now people complain because there's not parking in downtown South Bend. And that's exciting. So if we help play a role in that, I take a lot of pride in that. But I think the family life is probably one, because I really messed that up the first time around. My wife, Tracy, she's a saint, and love her to death, love the kids. But that's probably the number one thing. And I've found that work-life balance now. And but again, having a good staff that you put in place under you allows me that when my son's got a track meet, even though it's a game day, hey, guys, I'm going to be gone for 2 hours. I'll be back, but hold down the fort. And I tell people all the time, if I'm the smartest guy in the room, we got problems. Yeah. I am not afraid to hire people that are as good or better than me, because those that are good surround themselves with better. And Nick Brown, our general manager here, he's been in baseball 32 years. And I remember when I wanted to hire him, Andrew asked me, like, you sure you want to bring him in? Why would you want to bring him in? He could easily take over your job tomorrow. And I said, good. Because that's what's going to make us great, because I can't do all this by myself. Yeah. He can help me spread the knowledge around. We thought exactly the same. He worked for Ripken Baseball as well. He ran the Augusta Ball Club for them. So we had the same mindset, and it was a huge boost for me personally because it gave somebody else that could take things off my plate but believe the same thing. So again, you want the best. If you surround yourself with people because you're worried about them, you're never going to be a good organization. Never. So, hey, I welcome it. The smarter the people are here, the better. And people say, hey, they make me look good, so I'll take it any day of the week.
You're not shying away from competition,
nope, not at all.
Which would not make sense in this line of work. That's great to hear. Well, give us your final thoughts. Close us out here as it pertains to the Cubs, leadership, anything. I mean, close us out with whatever thoughts that you have.
Yeah, I think the one thing is I can't thank the Michiana community enough. The fans that come out and support us, we're only as good as the fans that come out. The business community that supports us from, a corporate partnership standpoint have been outstanding. They entrust us with their names and their logos and their brands. So thank you for that. And then the other thing is, I may not play baseball anymore, but, I'm 51 years old, but I'm still a kid at heart. Working at an event or a venue that was always my passion, and I've got to do a lot of cool things. I met Cal Ripken Jr. here in South Bend. A couple years ago. Jimmy Carter was here when they were doing the Habitat for Humanity project. He came to a game. I got to spend 3 hours with the former president and the first lady. I mean, who gets those experiences? And then probably one of the biggest things. Growing up in Pennsylvania, I grew up a Cubs fan because of WGN. It's not like today you had MLB Network, you had all the TV channels. I couldn't get Pirates games where we live, so I grew up a Cubs fan. 2016, when the Cubs won the World Series, as the team president here, I was gifted a World Series ring from Chicago with my name on it. Unbelievable thing. And so it's just the experiences I've been able to do, the people I've been able to meet along the way that's what the journey's all about. Enjoy the journey. Yeah, you have your hard days, but one hard day at a ballpark is a lot better than most people's good days.
I'll tell you what, this has been an awesome conversation to be able to kick off season 3 of this podcast featuring you and your friend Craig Gruber, who's actually going to be next week's guest, told me that you were one of his favorite people in the community.
He's awesome. We get together every so often for pizza at Barnaby's.
That's what he said. He said.
He is amazing. And congratulations to you for your 3rd year. I mean, that's awesome. I'm sure when you started the journey, same thing. You had a lot of trials and tribulations, but now I hope you get to reflect and see what you've done and, the people that you're doing and the impacts that you're having is awesome. And Craig is amazing. So you're going to enjoy the conversation with him.
Well, thank you so much. Well, that's it for this week's episode and our first episode of the Path Less Travel Podcast, Season 3, with the president of the South Bend Cubs, Joe Hart. Until next week, have a great day.